coming, and we're live. So people that are sitting back there, try to keep the conversations low or don't talk, except to us, because it records everything that you say. And the lady last month that came in and made a date with a gentleman that left, we know it's you. So it's been recorded for posterity. We're going to put it on YouTube. Okay. I appreciate the people. Just for a show of hands, how many people are officers in your building? How many people are just unit owners? All right, good. Field of leadership. I appreciate everybody that's here. And part of my theme for 2025 is that to make you the leaders that you can be for your building. Now we're going to start with the representatives from UCO. Everybody knows Ruth Dries. She's the editor of the paper. Joanne Robinson, you know she's your treasurer. Patricia Caputo is a vice president. Stewart is a vice president. And of course everybody knows Donald. Okay. So what we're going to do, this is the same presentation that I give when the officers, president or vice president, come and have coffee with me the second Friday. The only difference is you're not getting the backup paperwork. So if you think that you got something out of this or you want to get additional information, when either myself or Patricia or Carolyn gives you a call to come in for that second Friday of the month, show up. Okay? If you have any additional questions, we're going to do the presentation and usually try the last 30-35 minutes to answer your questions. If you have a question that pertains to what we're talking about, then speak up. If not, save it towards the end. I was informed that Eva is sick, so WPRF will not be here today, but we'll be here and we'll try to answer whatever questions you have. All right, UCO, our mission statement. We oversee major contracts. Security, transportation, roads, cable, insurance. What gives us the right to oversee that? Something that's called the bilateral agreement. That was signed by most of the associations, but once we hit 75%, they were all bound in 1999. So if you have an issue and you do not have a copy of that bilateral agreement, contact Donald via email, and he will send you a copy for your building. We have one for every single building. In the UCO office, what do? We do investigations, we do barcodes, we do gate passes. That's just so a person can come in, show their driver's license. That does not allow them to go to any of the facilities. They just allow you to visit whoever they're going to be. We notarize paperwork for the associations. Right now we're good because we have at least 4 notaries in the office. And we have control of a UCO website, unitedcivic.org. Joanne updates that daily. Anything that should be on there is on there. It is interactive. You can leave a message for Joanne and she will answer it for you. It is not next door. It's not a place to be complaining. Right, it's not a social media. We will answer questions that make relevance. You know, not, well, I saw a dog pooping on the grass, you know, so who's going to pick it up? No, let's be realistic. Okay, what kind of paperwork does the UCO office provide? We invite investigation forms for sales and rentals. There has been kind of a undertone that people telling people that they can do their own investigations. Okay, we personally don't recommend it. Plus, the bilateral agreement says that UCO will do your investigation for you. If you choose not to do it or do it on your own, and you have a problem, it has consequences. okay? And I'll explain that in a minute. The paperwork has to be picked up. If it's an investigation for a unit purchase, it has to be given to whoever, either the purchaser or the real estate person. They in turn bring it back to you. Do not sign the form, give it to the real estate person or potential buyer and say, here, drop this off at Yuko. Okay? Which a lot of people are doing. I've got a headache, I got a backache, I got too many things to do, I'm working, I can't be bothered. It's your responsibility to drop it off. We're not going to accept it. We will not accept money orders. The check has to come from your association. So you accept whatever you want for your building. You in turn have to have a check written from your association to Yuko. Once the investigation is done, you'll get a phone call to come and pick it up. Please do not send a buyer. Please do not send a realtor. Please, it has to be an officer because we check. We will go on Sunbiz, and if you're not listed on Sunbiz, we're not going to give you that package. And we have a new thing now where people say they send a letter. You know, I'm the president, Mrs. Jones, and I authorize Jimmy to come and pick up the paperwork. Doesn't work that way, okay? So to make everybody happy, not give a problem to the individual or headaches to our volunteers in the investigation department, keep it smooth, keep it simple. The second part is for rentals. The same thing. The same thing applies. If it's a renter, take the paperwork, drop it off by an officer, not the renter, not the realtor. Once it's done, you'll come and pick it up. Another thing that pertaining to the renters, people that are doing their own investigations, the certificate of occupancy that we give you when we do the investigation, that is being produced by WPRF. If you look at the back of your ID, it says property of WPRF. I understand that if that is not the form that they agree to accept, they will turn it away. It must be typewritten, and you can either get it typed by us if we do the investigation, okay? Or if it's an extension of a rental or extension of occupancy, WPRF will type it up for you. Because we're in season now, she will not accept husband and wife signatures. It has to be 2 officers of the building to sign it, and it must have a seal on it. Off season, she does accept one person, but she will not accept husband and wife. So if you have 2 board members that are husband and wife, don't both sign it because she will not accept it. And then the first thing they do is they say, well, go to Yuko, they'll fix it for you. They issued the ID, it's their rules. When we started doing this, people said, well, you know, who created these things? Well, we went back into our records, and in February of 1997, most of us were not here, but for those that were, the only way that you could get a rental extension or a certificate of occupancy was through WPRF. So that's how far back it goes. If you have a rental extension, an officer must bring a copy of the new lease, not, excuse me. It's up to the officer to bring a copy of the new lease. Please do not bring the renter, do not bring the unit owner, and definitely don't come in with something on your cell phone and say, oh, the owner emailed me this, and this is it. It has to be something that can be scanned and read, and when you go to get your ID, they may ask you for that paperwork at the ID office. So please, to make your life easier and everybody's life easier, it's up to the board, it's really up to the owner to make sure that a renter has a new lease. At least 30 days prior to it expiration, okay? That person, it's up to the renter to give it to you, so you have a month. I know that it's a little bit of work, but please, let your people that are renting say, listen, it's up to you to supply us. You cannot imagine how many people come, oh, by the way, my lease expired in October, and I need an ID because it's December. Well, where's your new lease? Oh, my landlord won't give it to me. Okay? It becomes an issue. It becomes an issue for you, it becomes an issue for the individual. If you run into a situation where we've had issues where the unit owner is sick or for some reason cannot present the lease right away, WPRF will give a 14-day extension until the paperwork is provided to you, and they'll do that twice. And they'll get an ID with a blue stripe across the front. It says temporary ID on there, so that you can help an individual for whatever emergency, okay? But it's up to you to follow up by notifying the renter that it's up to him to give it to you. Not to chase you down, oh, by the way, it expires tomorrow, I need this done, okay? That's one. Yes?
Do you accept addendums? That's the new thing now, addendum to the lease.
Yeah, I don't see why not,
I'm just asking you.
In other words, they're just taking the original lease
and extending the date.
Okay, because instead of getting a new lease, they give you an addendum.
Yeah, it's a qualifying document.
Yes, yeah, that's a qualifying. What is not acceptable, well, we put out a 5-year lease. It starts here and that's for 5 years. You can only do 12 months at a time,
Right.
okay? So, and that, you could put an addendum in, you know, whatever works,
Okay.
you know, whatever makes your life easier, but you gotta have a new lease. If the person is just an occupant, that's where your name is not on the deed, and it's not on, and there's no lease, but you've been the owner wants you to live with that particular individual, okay? We've come up with a new form, very plain, very simple. The officer has to come, pick it up, they give it to the unit owner. The unit owner will fill out his or her name, apartment number, and write the individual's name that they want occupancy for. That owner must sign it, give it back to you. It requires 2 officers and your corporate seal. You bring that form to the UCO office or to the ID office, and we will type up a certificate of occupancy for you. If it's an ongoing thing, if you have last year's paper, bring that with you. Makes it easier. Also, the start and end date. Because we have people that are filling in the form, but they don't give us a start or end date. And then they come back to the, well, you know, you made it from December 1st, but it should be January. So to prevent people from having to go back and forth, make everybody's life easier, start and end date. Yes?
This is something that just came up this week, and it's about this. A board member came in and said, well, this fellow already owns in our association. He's going to buy a second apartment. We've decided not to have him investigated. That's fine. That's a business decision for your association, but we're not going to print out the certificate of approval for you because we just don't want to encourage that type of thing. And there's 2 reasons. Number one, you as a board, you don't know what you don't know. This person was investigated 10 years ago. You don't know what happened in the last 10 years. The second thing is we want to encourage you to do the same procedure every time for every applicant, because once you make an exception for someone, now you can put yourself in a position of selective enforcement, and we have seen lawsuits and complaints to OEO about that. It's $150. They could be your best friend, but just, you know, it's business. Always do the same procedure, whatever your procedure is. All right? That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay.
Pastor,
Yes.
I'm a little stupid. If I get an addendum, I don't have to bring the old lease, just bring the addendum.
Then, yeah, you can, right.
Bring both.
Bring both. They're going, well, for us, the addendum might be okay, But when you come up here to get your ID, the ID office might say, okay, it's an addendum to the lease, give us the old lease. So to make it easier without, so you don't have to make 3 trips, bring the old lease with the addendum to that, and this way you're done.
Thank you.
It makes sense, because sometimes the people in there, you gotta remember, they get paid to do some things. And sometimes they don't know how to do it.
Okay.
Yes,
On the same topic, so if I have a renter, if the apartment comes, the unit comes up for rental, and the neighbor says, oh, I know this person, they're over in Sheffield, they've been there forever, you still require an investigation, or you let it go because you won't give the certificate of approval if they don't get the investigation?
our recommendation is that everybody that moves into your building be investigated,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
Yes,
I have an unusual situation where I live in Andover D. We have a condo unit where the prior board member sold it to 2 people, and they were not investigated. There's no investigation for this sale, no sale papers, no anything in the folder at all. And is this an area where, because we have an attorney, and I'm trying to put together things, what do I need to take to the attorney? Is this something I would take to the attorney and say, how do you
Absolutely,
proceed?
yes. Look, you've basically inherited a mistake made by a previous board,
Absolutely.
but your board did allow this person to move in. I think what you're
Sure.
getting at is you want to retroactively go back and have them
It's
investigated.
not done legally.
Well,
We don't
legally is a
have-
different thing, but it sounds like what you're looking to do, now that you're doing everything right, is to go back retroactively and ask the tenants to, or the owners to be investigated. Tricky.
Investigated and get paperwork.
Right, indeed. I think you definitely should bring that to your association's attorney. And let's face it, even if they agreed to be investigated and you found something detrimental, what would you do with that? Right? This is attorney work, 100%.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask.
did they ever get a certificate of occupancy, and do they have IDs?
They do, yes. I don't know how they got them.
Well,
It was waived.
there was somebody on the board at the time had to sign those
They were
papers.
on the board, I know that.
Okay.
He was,
And this is one of the reasons why
Relevant, all relevant.
we're going back, because people were, after COVID, we were handing out the certificate of occupancy or extensions, and people were signing, filling them in. Sometimes one board member knew, sometimes 2 board members knew, and then there are other times that nobody knew. And then, well, how did this person get a lease? In one particular case, we had a board that was doing their due diligence, and what they did is they were in the hands of attorney, working with the unit owner to have someone removed as a renter. The 5th board member was not partaking in into what the rest of the board was doing, and he had the corporate seal, so guess what? He gave that person an extension, put a seal on it. So the money that was spent by the association, and who got blamed? We did. But that's why we said, as long as a board member comes in and we do the paperwork, we'll stand behind it. Yes, ma'am.
You said a lease can only be for 1 year.
12 months, yes.
12 months. What about a certificate of occupancy? Is there like an end date for it, or?
If you are a unit owner, no. Certificate of occupancy is, the difference is if you're a unit owner,
If you're not a unit owner, if you want
1 year.
someone to.
then
stay
it's
with
1
you.
year, regardless.
Oh, it's 1 year, so you
Right.
can get a certificate of up for 1 year.
1 year.
1 year, right. It has to be perpetuated every year.
And do you have to go to UCO for investigation every time you renew?
No, you don't need to investigate it, but you have to bring in the extension to that, and we will type one up for you.
Okay,
All right? Does that make sense?
yeah,
Okay.
you know,
All right. Why do we recommend you using UCO? Well, because we have a contract with every association. If we do the investigation for you, and it comes back where you have questions, you can ask for an attorney to review it at no charge to the association. We'll send it out, you get to come back, You'll get an opinion whether you can reject or not reject. If the attorney says you can reject it, and you reject the individual, and you get sued for whatever reason, everyone has a $5,000 deductible on the directors and officers claim. UCO will pick up that $5,000 deductible. If you do it on your own, or you do whatever you want to do, then you get sued, right off the bat, it's going to cost you $5,000. Okay? So, that's why we say do what you got to do, and you will be fine. Most of you know the village is divided into 4 quadrants.
I got a question here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In the investigation, we do the criminal history check and,
On a sale,
yeah, pardon?
on a sale,
No, we don't vote. Sale or rental.
you know, on an investigation for a transfer of deed, you do a criminal and financial background check.
Right.
Very simple, on owner, criminal, and financial. Non-owner, criminal only.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So, but some investigations, I know there's other associations doing their own, they claim that they're getting all these extra things in the investigation, like history of evictions, other court dealings, and so on.
All right, so the short answer to your question, if there is such a thing, is that you have, our investigation package, which we do for you, was very carefully vetted by an attorney that's an expert in the Fair Housing Act of 1968, the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1976. These are very, very harsh federal laws if you run afoul of them. You and I could each go to our computers and Google the you-know-what out of everybody here, and find all kinds of stuff. But using that information and forward carriage of that information can be very troublesome for you as an association. So we recommend that you use the vendor that we've used for decades, and everything we've done has been pre-vetted for you by an attorney. It's designed to keep you out of hot water. There was no internet when all of this started, right? When I first worked in an investigation department in the late 1970s, the management company had 2 retired New York City detectives that literally went to people's jobs and previous homes, and that's how it was done back then. You gotta be very careful with the internet. It can hurt you if you use the information incorrectly. So sometimes you gotta put your blinders on and just go with the flow, all right?
Those searches for criminal history only go back 7 years?
No, that is not correct. Our criminal searches go back to the mists of time, all right? Whether a criminal thing is actionable for you is our attorney's call. It depends on how long ago the thing was, what's the nature of the thing, and has there been further things afterwards. So you take it on a case-by-case basis.
But it's been brought to our attention that some people are doing criminal background checks on renters. You're not allowed to do that.
Financial.
Okay?
Financial.
On a renter, yes, I'm sorry, financials, yes.
No financial on a renter because the
financial,
renter
only
has no
criminal.
financial obligation to the association.
I
That's the
apologize.
landlord, that's the landlord's job.
Right, yes.
I have something to say. In regards to the renter income and so forth, I read somewhere it is the responsibility of the board to make sure that this renter is able to pay, because but where did I read that and it said it was legal.
You didn't read it in anything that UCO put out. Our attorney,
No, not that you.
our
It was
attorney
something
has
else.
advised you, the boards, that you should not be conducting financial or means tests to renters. That is the landlord's job. The landlord has a financial obligation to you. If he hires a bum tenant because he didn't check their credit, he still owes you his assessments. That's it, that's his
I
business.
thought, because the way it was read, that the board has a responsibility to the other owners to make sure that this person is creditworthy.
Only,
Our attorney advises otherwise.
Okay.
the only responsibility, the renter is not your responsibility, the unit
No, I
owner.
realize that,
So,
but we have a responsibility to the other owners.
yeah, through the unit owner, not through the renter.
But I'm
If the
just
renter
saying-
moves in and doesn't make payments for 6 months, it's still the responsibility of the unit owner to pay his maintenance fees.
Exactly, but what if he doesn't?
That's what you have attorneys for.
Well, that's why the
Right.
laws changed.
Right. I don't think, well, all right.
Okay, we'll move on.
All right, let's move on. The village is divided into 4 quadrants. Each quadrant has an assigned a vice president. We have 2 of them here right now. Make yourself familiar with them. If you have a specific question or you're not sure, or you've asked your management company and you don't think you got a proper answer, call your vice president or stop in. If your vice president is not there, usually another vice president will be happy to sit down with you. And if for some, God bless you. And for some reason, if no vice president is available because we're busy, either Donald or myself will be happy to sit down with you. We won't turn anybody away. The one thing that every association comes in, every person that comes in, whether you're unit owner, renter, or board member, I need advice. How do I get paid? That's legal advice. We're not going to give you legal. Our first legal advice is get a lawyer. Okay? And this stems back through the years where when we used to sit down 10, 11 years ago. When you did an investigation, you came to UCO and somebody from UCO would review the package with you. And then we started getting, well, UCO said we could do this. That's why we did away with it. Legal counsel says, here's your package, and that's what we do now. You come in, you sign your package, and you go.
That question?
You got a question? Attorney. We'll be happy to send it out to your attorney, to our attorney. Okay? I know it seems bad, but it's actually good, because we're here to protect you. Especially the people that are devoting their time to take care of their buildings. Okay, management company, that's another thing. We have people going around and saying, manage your own building. Well, it's not, we don't personally recommend it. Can it be done? Yes. But you are shortening yourself on some of the things, especially law changes under 718, things that you must follow, procedures. Okay? Annual budgets. Not everybody's an accountant, not everybody's a lawyer, not everybody can sit down and figure out their expenses. They should be running your annual elections. There's a procedure for running your annual elections. Your board, the first letter of intent goes out. If you look, this is our board, this is the day that we're going to have our annual meeting. If you want to be on the board, please notify. The management company sends out the second letter with the people that are going to be running for your board. That's basic stuff, but it's a procedure that needs to be followed. Personally, Patricia and I went several months ago. We went to an associate, we were invited to come, and we had in an annual election. Unfortunately, the new president was new. He was handed a package. Didn't know that he had to have a sign-in, didn't know that he had to have a quorum, didn't know the procedure, and I don't think he really even looked at what was inside the package. So we helped them as much as we could to try to help them along. If you're going to have an annual meeting, even if you're not going to have an election, make sure your management company is there. Don't say, oh, we're not going to have an election, we only have 3 people running for a board of 5, we don't need you. Make sure they're theirs. Okay.
Okay, real quick on annual meetings. 60 days first notice. So I generally put mine out 70 days. The deadline to get your bios in and your intent to run is 34 days before the annual election. The second notice goes out 14 days before the election, and that should include the ballots and the ballot envelopes. Right. So when you're planning your annual meeting, you got to think 90 days back. That's really when you should get started on your agendas and make sure your notices are going out. If you leave this to Seacrest or Fester, they're going to take care of this for you. You don't have to worry about it. But most of the time, when I see problems with annual meetings not being held correctly or at all, it's mostly because they did it on their own. If you don't ask your manager, they won't come after you. You have to go to them and say, we want to have our annual meeting on this date. You want to have your annual meeting, I'd say no later than the 15th of April, tax day, because your deadline to do your annual filing with the state is May 1st. So, first quarter is your best time to have your annual meeting.
Okay. Speaking of that, after you have your annual meeting, there are 2 forms that you need to fill out. The management company usually fills out SunBiz. That's where your corporation in the state of Florida is notified of who your officers are, what position they have. The second form, you have to come into the office, and it's for your delegates form. Who is going to represent your association? Some people come in and you have 1 or 2 people that are everybody that's there. We don't recommend that. Also, if you're a president or an officer that's not going to be here year round, but you have a board member that will be here that can attend the meetings, please put them as an alternate delegate, so you are represented and your building can be brought up to par with what we're doing. We see the forms every day. Oh, there's only 3 people. Well, is there anybody else that can come? I don't know. Ask. Okay? It makes it easier for us if there's an issue and we have to contact somebody, and the president or the vice president, one of the major people is gone, we need to be able to contact somebody. So it makes your life easier, managing your building easier, and it makes us a little more professional. The other thing your management company can do, you have a letter of violation. If you have a unit owner that's 3 months in arrears, hasn't made a payment, shame on you. First letter comes from your management company. Please notify that Mr. Jones in Apartment 101 is 3 months in arrears. First letter comes from him. And they will determine a length of time, 14 days, 30 days, whatever they decide. If there's no response, guess who your next call is? To your attorney. Okay? And trust me when I tell you, we have people that come in and say, we have apartments that haven't made payments in 3 years, 4 years. Okay? This is not good for you, because it's your money, and a lot of you that are board members, there's a line in your budget that you're charging every unit owner that doesn't pay. That money is spread under uncollected debts, okay, to every single unit owner. So if you have 1 unit and you have 26 units in your building, you have 1 unit that doesn't pay, you're penalizing the other 25 unit owners for that person not making payments. Yes, I'm going to do that too. Okay. Speaking of the meeting that Patricia and I went to, as officers, if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however you have, you people should be talking to each other. We had the meeting that we went to, we asked, who's the treasurer? And a gentleman raised his hand and said, you're the treasurer? He goes, yes. How many years? 9 years. Well, what is your financial statement? He goes, I haven't seen a financial statement in 9 years. Okay? Is that person doing his job? No, he's a C. Talk to each other. The other thing, going back to investigations, if you do before you submit the paperwork in, we recommend the officers reviewing it. We've seen realtors meet with board members in our parking lot, exchanging paperwork, and that being brought into investigation without any other board member knowing what's going on. Okay? Review it. Because if there's papers missing or you rush, we know it, that the realtors want to rush you through it. Got to get this done. Don't be intimidated. Like Donald says, they're not your friends. Okay? Take your time, have every board member read it and agree that this is what you're going to put through. And when the paperwork comes back, make sure that it's reviewed by whoever else is on the board. If half of your board members are not there, make a conference call, get on the phone, review those papers. If you plan to reject somebody, and this is personal experience, okay, That meeting that you're going to have to review the investigation that came back, your secretary needs to put the time, the date, who attended that meeting, okay, and the rejection of the individual. And you better have that in writing. We made a mistake. We thought we had some honest people, but we had a realtor that wasn't nice and an owner that wasn't nice. We called the realtor, we called the owner, we said, I'm sorry you're being rejected because you gave us no financials. Well, the realtor said, sue them. And they sued us. And when it came to time, we had to go all the way to the magistrate, show me where you had the meeting, the minutes of that meeting, and who voted how. We didn't have any minutes. We did it over the phone, we did whatever we had to do, and it cost us a few dollars. Okay? So, from experience, make sure you have the minutes, especially if you're going to reject somebody. This way, if it comes back and you have some legal issues, you can go back and say, we did it, this is who's here. And that's the only reason why we lost that case. Yeah. Yes,
A quick question on with the realtors.
yes.
They seem to want to get involved in association business a lot. And are they allowed to, what is a proxy? A proxy is an owner can't be there, so they give that proxy to someone to represent them, correct?
All right, so you asked two questions, so I'm gonna answer the first one first. With these agents, most of you have Mark Friedman as an attorney. You don't. But they're all saying the same thing. You, the board member, you, the director, have no business interacting with real estate agents. Block their phone calls, they're bullies. Not a day goes by where I have someone crying in my office that this one or that one threatened to sue us, and I had two that I basically, yesterday had to get Kleenex, it was so bad. Gotta stop with these agents. The agent works between the buyer and the seller. When I put that article in the newspaper a few months ago, those are my thoughts. That was Mark Friedman's advice. Stop talking to these agents.
But they're coming to meetings with proxies from owners in a building.
Yes, I'm aware, and I'm aware of who is doing
And
that.
they come to the meetings
This-
with proxies,
you
like
need to-
6 or 7 of them, are they allowed?
Well, here's the thing. Is it a membership meeting or a board meeting?
Board meeting.
Okay, nobody but the board gets to speak on items except other owners. I would suggest you get an opinion from your lawyer. And by the way, if you do, I'd be very happy to, I really would like to look at it. And put your suit of armor on before the meeting. This way you can say, get out. Because I'm very concerned that these real estate agents who are involved in other kind of squiggly deals that I'm not comfortable with are showing up and trying to run these boards.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, and I know you'll do it. Get a legal opinion and treat me to a look at it, because I'd like to be, this has, you know what, and I'm gonna ask our attorney as well.
It is, because they're trying
This has
to.
global, because I'm seeing it, you're the third or fourth person that told me this. This is bad news.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what is a proxy? A proxy is strictly for voting. Right?
For voting for board members or voting for?
Anything that's voted on. If it's a membership vote on an addendum, that's a membership vote. If it's strictly a board decision on when to mow the lawn, that's a board decision. So proxies, to my mind, and I'm a layman and I'm not an attorney, that's why I'm asking you to get an opinion. I don't believe that those proxies give that agent the right to speak at your meeting as if they were owners. But I really would like to see confirmation of that. So I'll do my end if you do yours, all right?
Don, proxies come in the mail when you're having your election. So whenever a person can't attend, they've assigned me to,
An owner.
an owner. Pardon me?
They name the board.
Yeah, exactly. I was on the board, and one of the board members presents it. So I don't even know how the real estate is getting involved. Everyone gets that.
Here's one thing that I'm very sure of. Proxies, there is no, in condominiums, general proxies are not permitted. Proxies must be specific to the question to be voted on that's on the agenda.
So if you want to paint the building, make believe,
Yeah.
that proxy is for.
For that, just
vote.
for that.
For that.
But
There's no such a thing as a blanket proxy. And if you
Right.
read the ones like Seacrest sends out, it is done for that specific voting of that day. It doesn't cover you for 12 months or the next 90 days. It's not a, that's right, it's not a power of attorney.
Because they show up with like 5, 6 proxies, and now they want to vote on who's going to be on the board, and
Absolutely not.
Nope,
that's
nope.
what these realtors are.
Exactly, and I can't imagine a worse conflict of interest.
Right.
So this really disturbs me, and I think this year we're gonna pay attention to these.
We're trying to crack down on a lot of these, and we know that it's 1 or 2 realtors, okay? And I love Donald's, he's been giving this speech for a long time. Don't let them harass you, and if they say we're going to sue, go right ahead. We're directors and all, we'll bring it on. We have insurance, there's the door.
I've been called anti-everything. It
Well,
doesn't matter. And I don't.
Doesn't matter,
I don't care, shut the door.
right,
No, period.
As long as you're not anti-Yugo, that's all we care.
okay. Make sure that your proper documentation is presented, the delegates form, very important. The other day, we had a question, somebody came in, it had to deal with insurance, and they needed to get a hold of somebody, and when we went back to look at the form, we had not had an update since 2021. And when we followed through, every board member that was listed either didn't live in Century Village or was gone. So make sure that you follow through. That is very important. It gives you representation at delegate assembly, and either Donald or one of the vice presidents, or if they need to contact you, that's the only way that we have. Go ahead.
Let me jump in for a minute. Listen, you got my blood boiling with this real estate and proxy thing. I'm gonna tell you something. Now, you know we have our conference room available to you for your use. I'm gonna tell you that this proxy bullshit that you keep mentioning has never happened at a meeting that takes place in our conference room, and that tells me something, okay? That means they don't wanna be on the record, they know we can record, and they know that there's at least 2 cams in the room, me and your cam, all right? Word to the wise to everyone, please make use of our conference room. It'll help these patio meetings are where this nonsense happens. Stop having your meetings on the patio. You call your property manager will call Yuko, and we'll give you a time for a meeting in our conference room with Zoom and whatever else you need, all right? That's all I got to say.
Yes?
Can one person, say for example, a realtor, Mary Smith, can she come in with more than 1 proxy?
No, she can't come in with proxy. She can't come in with
But
any.
is she permitted to only have 1 or a multitude?
Proxies are strictly for agenda items that are to be voted on.
I understand.
There is no, she cannot come in and say, I represent the interests of this person. The proxy must be specific to the question, and it must be issued by the association.
Can they bring in more than 1 proxy?
Can that person be given more than 1 proxy?
Can Mary
I
Smith?
don't know. Check your, I'm real shaky on this. You guys are going to your lawyer. I really want to know what they say on this, all right?
That's, believe it or not, that's gonna be a legal question. It's a legal question. There's a threshold there. Okay, but just remember that that proxy is only for one specific day to vote on one thing. Okay?
So therefore, what is this deal with the doing with an owner?
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're just, I can't understand what a realtor is doing with an owner. What is he doing with an owner?
Because we've got.
Well-
It's shady business, that's what it is.
Shady, exactly. They wanna do hanky-panky business.
And they're very.
All right, I'm just, all right,
Do not.
let's keep going.
By
Okay,
the way, there's a microphone on the chair if anyone
We
needs it.
don't need it.
all right.
You're Italian like me, they don't need it.
I said it before, every association should have an attorney. And that's another thing, as soon as they come into the office and one of the vice presidents says, do you have an attorney? And you need an attorney. In today's world, you need an attorney. Are they expensive? Yes. Are they smart? No. But you gotta follow their advice.
Who's gonna
You
pay?
gotta follow their advice.
We pay. Who's gonna pay?
You gotta, wait, listen, you gotta pay. I'm sorry.
Nobody wants to.
It's part of doing business,
You have to
okay?
do it.
All right. So, and what else do you need your attorneys for? And I know that every officer in here that's been sitting on a board for more than 90 days knows their declaration of condominium, articles of incorporation, and their bylaws inside and out,
Of course.
okay? Now,
Read it every day.
why is that important? Over the years, either board members or attorneys did a half a job. They didn't want to spend the money. I'm updating my bylaws. We went from renting building to non-rental building. They only changed the bylaws. If the governing documents don't match the bylaws, guess what? You're out of work. All three of those documents must say the same thing. People don't know that.
No.
And we've had realtors that come in and they go back and they research the documents and you say, oh, my bylaw says, we're a non-rental building, here's a copy, it's filed. And they go back to the other two documents and there's nothing about not being able to rent. It says that you're a rentable building. And unfortunately, those other documents supersede your bylaws. So from time to time, you need to update those bylaws. And if nothing else, starting 2025, sit down with your attorney and make sure that all three of those documents say the same thing. The other thing is pets. We're a non-pet friendly building. Okay, well guess what? We changed our bylaws 5 years ago and it says no pets. When you look at the other two pieces of papers, it says you can't have a dog bigger than 40 pounds. Guess what? You could have the dog up to 40 pounds. Okay? So to cover yourself, to cover it, and to prevent people from breaking your jobs, this is the right way to do it. Go to the attorney, make sure that they're all the same.
What are the three papers? The Declaration of Independence?
Yeah. Articles of incorporation, declaration of condominium, and the bylaws.
Right. Can I ask you something on that?
Sure, absolutely.
This is where the gray area comes in. So there's no smoking in the building, right? No smoking. Most buildings. Okay, so now marijuana, medical marijuana is legal. Most people aren't chewing gummies. They're smoking. So, and they smoke out on their lanais.
Yes.
So you're sitting there and you have company or you have your kids there, you know, whatever. I know it's legal, but the point being is that now you're surrounded by their smoke. So again, so it doesn't matter that there's no smoking in the building because it's now you have smoking of marijuana in the
All
building.
right, here's
and
where
you
it gets a
can't
little
change it.
tricky. Now you have a no smoking building, but now
Right.
you have a unit owner who's essentially using a medicine that's been prescribed to them by a doctor.
Right.
Right, glaucoma, whatever. This is something, again, I hate having to say this, but you gotta go ask the lawyer on this.
Right.
But I do know that your original documents does have language about producing objectionable smells, noises, and et cetera, that aggravate the other people in the building. Which of those went out, you know, again, you know, gotta ask Mark. It's that simple.
Okay. So, question? Okay. Usually at this point, Eva's here and she answers a bunch of questions for WPRF. We'll try to answer them as best we can. If you have a unit owner that's in the arrears more than 90 days, you can request to foreclosure on an apartment, first starting with a letter from your management company. And if you don't get a response and you feel that you want to foreclose, you can contact WPRF. Eva wants to be the person. She will research their records. If there's no mortgage on the property and they owe WPRF money, they have a contract that you sign with them and they will help you through the foreclosure procedure. It doesn't cost, you don't have to sign anything other than that original contract. They stay on top of it, they make sure that all the paperwork is filed, and they'll get you whatever money that you can, whatever you're entitled to. The law says that you can get up to 12 months. So if you have an apartment that's in the arrears 5 years, you're not going to get it. But the caveat is they have to owe WPRF money. If they come back and they say, no, they don't owe us money, they just owe the building, then you have to contact your attorney. The problem with that most attorneys, again, personal experience, will not tell you that needs to be perpetuated every 12 months. So if you start a foreclosure procedure and the 13th month coming, you do not renew that, or your attorney doesn't renew that, you have to start all over again. Okay? Personal experience, we did one when I lived in Canterbury with an attorney. Took us 7.5 years, cost me $10,000. Okay? The last one that we did through WPRF was 15 months and cost me nothing. Other than whatever they take out their fees, they take out their legal fees, then you get your money. If there's anything left over, it goes to the estate. Further away? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So as far as WPRF, so that everybody's aware of, the ID belongs to WPRF. We have people coming in that have an expired ID. We confiscate between our security and the clubhouse. They do about 40 or 50 a month. They took my ID away. If you look at it, they have no right. It says property of WPRF. They issue it. Okay? So, yes.
We have some people who sold their units, didn't turn in their IDs, and are coming in using the facilities.
Let Eva know. Okay?
Because they said new people pay the $100.
I'll tell you right now that once we're aware of that, every once in a while, we will get a copy of their ID. They will put it at the guardhouses. They'll put it over here, and as soon as they walk in the building, they'll get confiscated. Okay? There should have been, whoever the new owner was, will not be given a new ID unless they collect money for that ID.
Or they've been paying for, well, they pay for a new ID if no one turns it in, right?
Right, right.
So that's-
But like I said, if you,
Yeah.
okay, you gotta let Eva know. They will look up in their computer and they'll make copies and we'll put it at the guardhouse and it will get confiscated.
They get away with it for a while, but almost
Yeah.
always it gets snagged.
Right. Okay. Any other questions pertaining to WPRF? Yes.
What's the status of this millennium agreement?
What do you mean the status? It's in effect.
Is it in effect?
Yes.
For how long is it now?
10 years.
All right, so just so everybody understands what we're talking about here, we're talking about an amendment to the mandatory recreation lease that each of us has individually with WPRF. 20-odd years ago, there was an amendment to that agreement which establishes something called the Joint Operations Committee, which gives the unit owners through UCO limited oversight on the budget here at the clubhouse. So that was recently renewed, and I believe the new term is for 10 years.
I know Eva said that the WPRF was going down $7.
Yes.
Because we didn't get the booklets yet, people who get booklets.
You should have, when you do, you'll get a letter in the mail notifying you
Coming.
of the payment schedule and that it was reduced,
Okay,
yes.
so it's coming, so January 1st is right around the corner. The
Yeah.
booklets haven't been received, but they will be in the mail.
Our
Are-
association's got one.
Do you pay by book or do you?
Well, I do it automatically, but they send me what it is, I don't know
So
what
you should
it
have
is.
just gotten a letter in the mail?
I didn't get it,
We don't get a book.
No.
so I just called it, I guess.
All right. Yeah, if you stop by, Mary Petro's the person you could talk to. It must have gotten lost in the mail because I know that I got it a month ago. That it was just a letter, you're on auto pay, just to let you know.
Right.
Okay? All right. Now, we've told you what we do. We told you what WPRF does. Now we're going to the part where your responsibility as unit owners and as board members are. You need to have a board of directors. You need to hold annual meetings. Will you be surprised? I mean, we haven't submitted anything because it's the same board for the last 9 years, and then 3 of them are dead. So we need you to update and you need to have those annual meetings. Right, the new law that as of July 2024, you must have 4 meetings a year. Each quarter, you need to have a meeting, okay? So make sure that you do that. Make sure you do that. Maintain your building. Walk around the building. I know that those of you that have Seacrest used to walk around once a month. Then it became every quarter. Now it's every 6 months. There's nothing wrong with the board members or a unit owner. Well, just walk around the building, see if there's anything that's wrong. And if there is, contact your management company and ask them to help you.
Take pictures.
Yeah, take pictures. Work with the management company. Like I said, let them walk around the building. We had an issue in my building. I come out and I see my bushes are dying. Half of my irrigation system wasn't working. They never noticed it. They've been cutting dry trees. Okay? I called, I made 1 phone call. The next day they were there, they fixed the irrigation system, and guess what? My bushes are green again. Okay. Your responsibility, which we discussed, is the paperwork. Sales, leases, extensions, that's all part of the board's job to do that. And I know it's a lot of responsibility. It doesn't get any better. It's actually going to be worse. But you need to do that. All board members need to be certified. So as of July 1st, 2024, the certification class is now 4 hours long. Okay? The good part about it is that every year thereafter, as long as you're on the board, you only have to do a 1 hour makeup class. If you were an HOA, you have to do 4 hours every year. But we're not, we're a COA. So look at it from the positive side. But make sure the next one at the Condo Expo is in February downtown, okay? If you have not gone, make sure that you sign up for it. It's a first class in the morning, I'm sorry.
Make sure you tell me it's free parking and lunch.
Oh yeah, you get a free parking, free lunch, you get to get all kinds of goodies if you've never been there before. I know that once it was done online with Mark Friedman, the people that give the course are trying to do away with the online classes. They want you to sit in a classroom and physically sit there. And I know it's tough, and I get it all the time. Yeah, well, I took it in March. Well, I took it in October of 23, in March of 24, and in April and May, and I did it all over again the first time after July when it changed to 4 hours. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit more about the transfer of the sale of a property and the board who represents the wealth, that an owner has a right to receive articles, documents, if you request them in writing in 5 days?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
Okay, do boards know that?
well, we're getting to that. We're working on it. That's why, but we'll answer questions to that.
Okay, we're on that now.
One of the new, as of July 1st, there's more demands being met on the board. The four annual meetings, the 4 hour class. That's part of the class. Yes,
Is Mark gonna have the 4 hour class next year?
they're working on it.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark said he's going to do it, but he hasn't set the dates yet.
Okay,
He sets the dates with Eva, and then the two of them let me know, and I tell all you guys.
all right.
Here's a question that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay, but I don't know the answer to it. A board of directors, is the board of directors the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary? Is there another director in there, or just those
It
offices?
depends on your bylaws.
Right.
Oh, so a director
So
could be
in
anything?
my association, we have 5 directors. Everyone on the board is a director,
Okay.
but once you have your organizational meeting, which typically happens right after your annual meeting, one of those directors will be named president, the others vice president, secretary, and treasurer. We have one that's simply just director.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Now, the state minimum to have a board is 3 people. And some boards have reduced to 3 people because they have trouble putting together boards. But you gotta have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Vice president, it's if your documents call for it.
But a director has full authority to vote and everything
Yes,
as a
of course,
board member,
yeah.
so they can
He's on-
go to the board, and vote.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They're just called directors.
It's just the ones that have been named officers have additional duties. One has to do with
Right,
money,
got it.
the other has to do with records, things of that nature.
Thank you for clarifying that.
The association should make sure, I touched us on this before, make sure that you have a member of your building attend our monthly meetings, our delegate assembly. There's always information given out, besides the updates that you have from our sheriff's department. We're trying to, Donald gives you an update on what's going on with the North Canal, South Canal, with the development of the golf course. And, because some people don't read what he puts out, or they don't read the paper. So if you don't read, or you have bad eyes, come to the meeting and you'll hear it, okay? And you can ask questions, yes.
That's, just to clarify, that's the first Friday of.
First Friday of every month, yes. 9:30, be there. Don't be at 9:35, because once they're closed, and we believe it, we have people that come, well, I came late, by 2 minutes. They have a time schedule. You won't be able to vote. So if you want to vote, and if you just want to sit there, that's fine. If you want to vote, make sure you get there on time. Another thing that we find out, we have a problem in your building, and somebody calls Donald, there's water leaking, and he calls the president of the board and says, well, apartment we have, I don't know who owns that, We recommend that you have a list at least once a year where you Seacrest, and at the end of November, beginning of December, say, could you send me the most current list of every unit owner that you have? If you don't have it, you can update it, okay? But it's amazing how many people don't know who owns what units. And I know it's a little bit of a pain, but you can save yourself, it is, okay? Yeah, I know that, but there are officers that don't do that. They don't care, Next thing, corporate seal. This is not the papal seal. The statute states the seal should not be more than 40 miles away from your building. So if you live in Canada, you live in California, Chicago, and you leave and you take that seal with you, you're breaking statute. Plus, it is not something that's embossed with gold. If it's lost, stolen, or out of town, you can go on Amazon, or you can go to Office Depot and get a new one made up. Donald, they cost what?
$20.
$20. A board member can just get another seal. For some reason, there are people that feel that if I have that seal in my hand, I have all the power in the world. You don't. Okay? And that's to conduct business, and you'd be surprised. So, yes. No, we got it. We're good. All right. If you have a new unit owner or a new renter, sit down with that person. Explain to them about the UCO reporter, what information's available, that you have 3 channels, 590, 591, 592. They can get caught up on what's going on. If there's an emergency, like the elevator was out in the building here, Joanne was contacted, and within an hour, it was up on the screen on 591 that the elevator was out. So you make sure you notify them, yes.
Going back to know who owns what unit, what we do when a new owner comes in or renter, we have a sheet, it says emergency phone number.
Right.
We make them tell us their kid's phone number, or somebody, because we found a person unconscious, no one knew who to call, their
Right.
family.
Well, this is what I'm saying, believe it or not, there are boards that don't use common sense. I'm too old, I can't do this, I don't want to be bothered. So I'm here to give you a little bit of an education of what we think you should do. I can't force you. It's all up to you, but this makes your life a lot easier. Make sure that you remind people that we have a community website. Let them go on that website. Everything is on there. Joanne did a wonderful job. For those of you that were here for a while, you remember David had a blog, but that was his personal blog. Once he was out of office, we created our own UCO website that we're in control of. Licensed work contractors. If you're having work done on your building, make sure the person is licensed and insured. If you're an individual unit owner that wants to have work done in your building, request certificate of insurance and a license, yes.
How far can you push people on that? I actually I saw a big truck out front along with another board member. We were just chatting and outdoors, and we saw this big truck, and I said, wait a minute, I see them taking something like, I want to go down and come with me. She didn't go with me, so I went by myself. I found out that they were going to install an air conditioner, and it was not going to be where the air conditioner should be in the back, in a one-bedroom. And so I said, is this person licensed and insured? Do you have any work papers here? Person wasn't insured, anything else. I made them stop.
Good.
And then I wrote her a letter. I explained to her, I said, I'll write you a letter. I wrote her a letter. I said, now when you do this work, get it done, please come back to us and give us the information. She didn't do that. So how do we handle that? She had it done. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the
All right.
rights are of the board member to.
So it's funny, the exact same thing happened in Ruth's building this week. What's happening is your buildings, especially the two-story garden apartments like where you live, there's an alcove, right?
Yes.
And the way it was originally set up, the top and the bottom each have 2 units,
Yes.
right? Because of the new highly efficient air conditioning units, they're too big to fit in the alcove. You can't get 2 in each alcove. It's impossible. So what's happening is when people get new AC gear, the condensing unit, they're dropping a pre-made concrete slab outside the alcove and putting the gear on and then piping and wiring it in. And in some cases you have 2 because you can only put 2 in each alcove. And right, here's where you guys have to get involved. Dropping that pad and putting that stuff is a common element that belongs to the board. Hang on one second. So that belongs to the association, and you gotta govern that. I don't think there's a lot you can do about it, to be honest with you, because people need air conditioning.
I understand.
It's one of the few things that don't require a permit prior to installation, because obviously in the middle of the summer, you don't want people waiting on permits to get their air conditioning back up, because otherwise they'll have a stroke, right? So a few things. First, make sure that you're being careful of where that concrete pad is being placed, and that the board's aware of it and it agrees. Second thing is, like you just said, is the company licensed and insured? Third, has a permit been applied for? And they could show you proof of the permit. Once the installation is done, they're supposed to have that inspected. And this is important, because when it comes to air conditioning, amateurs, because really any idiot can put an air conditioning system in. It's basic plumbing and electricity. But the calculations on how big the unit needs to be for your space is something that takes a little bit of knowing. Amateurs tend to oversize the gear. And if you put too big of a unit for too small of it, too big of an air conditioning unit for too small of an apartment, what you're going to have is an overcycling condition, and then you're going to have condensation inside the unit, which leads to mold, and mold's a big deal. So yeah, you don't want to stop this. People need to have electricity, but all the things I said, just make sure you're on top of it. All right?
All right.
She's talking about window air conditioner?
No, she's talking about,
System, the actual
No,
system?
a central air conditioner.
Then also talking, but this particular one though was a window unit.
Okay, so it's a window unit that doesn't require,
No, but she was going to have it put out, they were going to do a whole new thing out on the veranda, because she has an enclosed.
all right, it sounds like what you're describing is a conversion from through-wall air conditioning to a split unit, which is a fairly new technology.
But you gotta cut, can they cut through the?
They don't cut through anything without your express written permission. That you can stop right off the bat, so you did the right
I
thing.
did the right thing, but then they went ahead and did it anyway without, because I can't be down at the other side of the building or every second.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yes, go ahead.
One more time. The ladies want to put in this new air conditioner. It goes over the front door, is the unit. The air conditioner gets taken out and she wants to
Close
close
the
up
wall, yeah.
and there's a unit that goes outside her apartment.
Right.
That's a split unit.
Okay. this
All right,
is-
so here's the thing, there's two places where this little, it's a much smaller condenser unit. It looks like a brick, like a triangle, a rectangle. That has to go outside someplace. So you, the board, need to approve a spot that thing can go. In some cases, I've seen this condenser unit go on the porch, on the patio. Again, you need to approve that. That porch is limited common element,
Inside or out?
outside. So if you have a unit that has the original screen wall that was intended, it's just a weather room, all it is screens, you could put the unit on that veranda. But that veranda doesn't belong to the unit owner, it belongs to the board. So the board should be approving that in advance, because now you're putting it on a limited common element.
Okay.
If they're putting the box outside on the grass,
They are.
that's common element, so you want to get on top of that too.
All right,
There's
what-
nothing inherently wrong with that technology, it's actually pretty good. The only problem I've seen in all these years is one unit, they put the little machine outside in the yard, and then they ran the pipes up and the electricity up to a raceway, they attached it to the wall, then they went through the attic to run it to the two units. Here's the problem, that attic is very hot, and now you have cold condensate water going through, so there was condensation, and the lady had a leak, basically a line straight across her 1-1. So that's something you wanna,
She's on the bottom floor, so that's.
bottom floor is easy.
Okay, what about taking the unit out that's there and blocking up that wall?
Permanent. And approval, that wall is yours, that belongs to the association. You should be approving that in advance. I'm actually planning to do it myself. I have a 1.5 with through-the-wall units. This year, we're gonna change to a split unit. I'm gonna have to pull permits, I'm gonna have to have my board approve it, and then I'll have the carpenter come and close up, front and back. And, but,
Yeah, she's gonna put front and back too.
yeah, exactly, so.
Can I say something?
So it's-
Sure.
To this
Okay,
lady here, I don't know her name, but
Is the electrical out? I mean, is it, with the electrical be okay to carry it? Because like the water,
Anything to do with wiring is gonna require a permit.
I mean, we can't have a water, a tankless.
No, I'm glad you asked that. Some of the split units have a higher power requirement. The Frigidaire units and the Frederick units are 110. You can plug them right into the wall. The Mitsubishi units require 220, so you're gonna pull permit on that. It's not the same as the water heaters. They don't pull that kind of power.
Okay, I'm just checking on that, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, in terms of this lady, when listening to you, it's like if I put in a swimming pool, the point being, if it's the structure, and they've cut into the structure of your building, even though you don't want to, and you don't sound like an assertive person to me.
Oh,
You know,
I
you-
am.
You need to get a lawyer.
She is.
Right, well, it sounds like you need, there's a lot of issues in
But
your
you
place.
don't, if you don't know what to do,
Well, you do know what to do. The law says you can't our
Well,
bylaws,
okay.
anybody's law says you can't cut into any wall without permission
I
from the board.
realize that,
So
and I
you can have her,
prevented-
no,
Okay.
you
I
can have, you
prevented
told me she
Ladies,
did it.
hold on.
Let me just
Ladies,
finish.
hold on. The next
I got
step that
the
we're
order.
talking about is common elements. That's what we're
Right,
talking
but
about.
she
Don't talk
can,
to
she
me
can
about it,
have
talk
them
to
take
them.
it, she can have them
Yes, she
take,
can.
is what I'm saying, she didn't say that. You know, she said, what should I do? The point being, if you want to get a lawyer, you can spend the money, they have to undo their work and put it
But-
back the way it
I
was.
have done that already with the kitchen, okay?
The issue here becomes, when a new owner comes in, you need to explain to them what a common element of the building is. You let them know that any alterations
Right.
to the walls belong to the building, not to you, the individual.
And I
Okay.
wasn't aware that the verandas, patio areas were. a
Common element.
I had no
Limited
idea.
common
I
element.
just learned this right now.
Yes? See, well, you,
The patios are limited common element. What that means is the patios belong to the association, but the unit owner has the exclusive use of it.
Use and care of.
So you do have a say in what goes on in that patio.
yes,
Okay. No, that was.
That was your question?
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
So-
if it's screen on screen, and it's original, and that screen blows away from the storm, the association pays for that.
Actually, yes, if it's original equipment,
Right, but if you closed it in and the storm blows it
Right.
away, that's.
and it's on them.
Okay, yeah, there's some misconception in that. Every common element, patio, porch, whatever you want to call it, was a screened, 3 bars and screen. That came original with the building. Anything that happens to that area, when it's in the original as-built condition, is the responsibility of the association. Once I put sliding doors or put windows on there, it is now the responsibility of the unit owner. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
If you have, like you were saying, a 1-1 and you want to put in that split system, can the board stop you from doing it? They
Yes.
say no, it's-
Yes,
Yes.
So they can prevent you from, all right.
yes. But within reason. There's got to be a reason, you know.
Don't touch our walls.
Well, that's what you need an attorney for, to say, listen, can I prevent this person from putting this in his, you know, into his, so, that's not a decision that you should make lightly. If you're gonna reject somebody, and if somebody wants to blow out, you know, the back, that's, you know that's a no. But if he wants to alter the common element of the building, that's a perfect thing for your attorney. Call your attorney and say, listen, do I have a leg to stand? Can I prevent this person from doing this?
Yeah, because I can see that issue coming up.
Oh, of course,
It is coming up.
it's coming up more and more. Yes,
Yeah, what's common elements, there's been confusion, I know, in our building, probably in others, with respect to leaks and who's responsible.
well, what kind of a leak?
From upstairs toilet, going down into a unit below.
Look, when it comes to leaks, the primary responsible party is always the association. Stop the leak, all right? Don't sit around and say who's responsible for what. Get a plumber in there and get it fixed. Because what's gonna happen? Eventually, while the two unit owners jibber jabber over who's responsible for what, you're getting a leak that's spreading and causing mold. The association always takes first seat in getting that done. You deal with who's responsible for what after the fact. And if there's negligence, then that's what you got insurance for. In a perfect world, the association's insured and each of the unit owners is insured. Each of you subrogate and you let the attorneys you let the insurance companies battle it out. You get that leak fixed.
They're not doing that, the property manager's interpreting it that it's the building's responsibility because it's damaged a common element, you know, between the units.
Well, damage to common element
Yeah,
needs to be addressed
That has to.
by the board who's responsible for the common element.
You're gonna have worse
So they're
problems.
paying for the whole shot.
well, I'll give you an example. We had somebody in my building that a 21-year-old hot water heater blew. Okay?
Who has it?
Blew, damaged the sheetrock. Our hot water heater is in a closet, okay? Was it my fault, the building's fault, that a 21-year-old hot water heater blew? No, okay? But unfortunately, the sheetrock belongs to the building. So the gentleman paid to have a new hot water heater, the association paid to dry the walls and put new sheetrock up in there. Okay? You are responsible behind the sheetrock up to the sheetrock, okay? If a toilet tank is leaking and you know that it's leaking, the unit owner has to replace the toilet tank. Any damage that causes, if it damages the wall, unfortunately, you have to fix it, right?
Yeah. As you guys can imagine, we spent a lot of time talking about leaks here at Century Village, 50-year-old buildings, all right? Leaky toilet tanks, lady dyes of hair and lets the basin overflow. You name it, it'll cause a leak. Rain coming in from the outside, problem with the wall, the windows, all right? One of the things that the boards need to be doing, and this is something that we've all pretty much stopped doing, is regular inspections of the units. All of us have documents that say that the board with notice can enter any unit for purposes of inspection, and with no notice in an emergency being fire, flood, or blood, all right? When I was a child here in Century Village, once a quarter, the board, 2 people from the board came to my grandmother's unit and inspected it. Drove her crazy because she felt it was an invasion of privacy. But what were they doing? They were looking for things like leaks, things that maybe the unit owner didn't notice, leaking toilet bowls, drippy faucets, things like that. This is something that we all should probably do more often, get in these units and look around. You guys probably saw a report from a few months ago from me where a unit owner who owned 2 units, one above the other, and they live out of Long Island, they're in their 90s, for 11 years, never allowed access to the board. And there was a leak for every one of those 11 years. There was grass growing on the first floor carpet. You gotta get in these units on a regular basis. The easiest way to do that is to follow the bug man once a month. Because you gotta let the bug man in, you might as well go in there, take a look around, and use your nose too, not just your eyes. You'll smell if there's a leak. That'll stop a lot of these things before they become a problem.
No, you can refuse the bug man.
She's
Yeah, that's true.
Quick question, in our laundry rooms, we have 2, up and down, and they have hot water tanks, which I was ignorant to knowing that could break. Is there a date on that hot water tank
Yes.
somewhere?
Just take a picture of the serial number and send it to me, and I'll tell you how old it is.
Because I never think about, those have been in there forever, those hot water tanks.
Right, and look, if your hot water tanks leak in a, blow up in a laundry room, it's probably not gonna spread to other units.
But still to keep an eye on, like you would say.
I say every 10 years swap them out. Just budget for it.
What is it, the last 2 digits on the serial numbers?
Yeah, I have it in my phone someplace, but yeah, if you just take a picture of the
Yeah.
serial, send it to me, I'll tell you when it was made.
Good enough.
So it's up to board members to let everybody know what a common element of the building is. People want to put mats in front of their doors, chairs, flower pots, everything. Well, if I have an N unit, it doesn't bother anybody, I can do that. No, you can't. Okay? Just so that you're aware of that. The Corporate Transparency Act has been put on hold. Okay? If you have not done it, I still recommend that you do it, because it might come back. It's only a temporary stay. It hasn't been abolished completely. Okay? The last item is units having 25 units or more need to have a website with all their documents and information available to any unit owner that requests it. Now, I have people that say, well, I have 16 units. Do I have to do it? My personal recommendation, it's the best thing that could happen. If you have a website and you put all your information on there, every unit owner, how many times, well, I need the mitigation form for the roof on our building, okay? If you go to the website, you could print it. I want to know our monthly financials, how are they? If they're on there, the individual unit owner could make them available. Or somebody is selling their property and they want to copy their documents that they don't have them after 20 years. If it's on the website, you give them access and you don't have to worry about it. Why do you have to worry about it? Because under the new statute, it is you as an officer of the building have a duty to do your best to make those available to a new unit owner or to an owner that requests it. So I know that there's somebody in this room that still has their bylaws from 1972.
The big thick.
Yeah, you know, right? There she is, she's raising her hand.
And you have
Okay?
to supply that. You have to supply that.
Right, this is what I'm saying. So it's actually a good thing. I know that Mark Friedman has something off the shelf. I know there are other people that are creating websites. And the state makes recommendations of what you put on that website. But if you just think about it, you now have to have 4 meetings a year. You now have to notify people that they have things to do. If you have that website available, okay, you say, there you go, all our records are right there. It makes your life as an officer of the building that much easier.
Can UCO help the board members that do not have a website, do not have the copies, do not have the bylaws? Can you help them get that to the new owners?
That I believe you should have set up a website. There are different, I know Mark Friedman has something. Is he still doing it?
No, they stopped actually. They don't do it anymore.
Seacrest,
There are companies out there that will do it for you, and they will get all that information is readily available.
Seacrest is going to, if they haven't already started it, they're going to have it. I'm not sure if they've started, I know that's what we're going to do.
Okay,
Because the board in writing has 5 days to supply that
right.
to the owner. And you
Right.
can't ignore it.
No, I understand. Right, you can, the new law says you got to make everything, I've only been your president for 6 months, I don't know what happened 10 years ago. You can't get away with that anymore.
Records requests ignored is one of the few things that the state will actually take seriously if you put in a complaint. It's records, money, and elections. Those are the three things that they're very strict on. So when you get a records request, get your property manager on board and get them what they need.
You have until December of next year, so I'm sure that there are companies out there that are gonna come and solicit you. If you go in February to the convention center, you might have some people there that are setting these things up. Because it's mandated now that you gotta have a website.
Yeah, Florida
Now,
statutes have had this under records all the time.
Now, the new
As a board.
statute says that you, the board, must give a copy of the documents of the association to any unit owner that requests it.
Yes.
But for most other records requests, it provides for inspection only. So, for instance, I have a situation where a lady's constantly asking for records. I meet her on a Saturday, we go into the records room, and I help yourself. You don't have to give them the actual record, but I do because it's just easier, frankly. I could just go to the computer, click and drag. But really, the answer is inspection.
Yes, yes.
There's somebody going to start to teach people how to do a website, starting in January. His name is Captain Johnny.
Okay.
And it's right here in the clubhouse. It's free. And you can register.
And if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what level of certification does Captain Johnny have to make a website that will be compliant with Florida statute?
State laws.
I have no idea.
Remember,
You might want to check on that.
you remember what I said. The statute has certain things that you must have on that website. So he's got whatever.
If he just teaches you how to do the website and you have to put the stuff on it.
But I'm saying the state already says that you have to have, these are the documents that you have to have on there.
Yeah.
So first find out what's on there and then ask him, can he create a website for you that will give you all the stuff?
Just be sure that.
Yeah. So, because just to have a website, anybody can get a website, but to have the documentation, and you have to be able to teach people how to go to there, and how to satisfy the law, and that only people that are unit owners can have access to certain parts of that.
You understand that?
So, yes,
You know, it would behoove Century Village, Yuko, I'm not sure whom, but to me, it just seems that everybody should be required to have the same maker of a website, so everybody is on the same page.
I agree with you, but guess what? I can't even get 309 Association to use Yuko to do their investigation.
Have a happy
That
holiday.
Okay, we can't get 100%. Who wants to do their own, who wants to use Seacrest or whatever. Now imagine me or Yuko or any vice president here telling any association, this is what you gotta do, this is the website, and you all have to do the same thing.
It just seems to me that any owner would press their boards to do that.
You would think.
You would think, but common sense is out the door. Okay,
I wouldn't,
did I answer your question, sir? Okay, so now that we're done, I have a couple of minutes for Stuart to say something, and one of the vice presidents, if you would like to say something, and then we'll ask your question.
The flowers.
Okay, just touch on a couple of things that you should be aware of. We have a person who purchased, I live in a 16-unit building. We have a person who purchased a unit with 2 bedrooms. He wanted to do renovations in the apartment. As long as the person came to us and told us what he wanted to do, and it was consistent with the rest of the building, we gave permission for him to do it, which meant that he took down the wall between the kitchen and the living room. And as long as the people who were working for him were licensed, his employees were had insurance, and he had insurance, everything was posted, that was fine. Now comes the problem. We have the area outside, which is the common element. What he wanted to do was to raise the concrete floor on the element outside to make it equal to his living room or his bedroom. I sat with him no more than 3 feet away from him, and I looked him in the eye and told him that you cannot touch the common element without permission, and you cannot touch the floor at all ever, because it will impact the foundation of the building. He looked at us, smiled. I did not know, one, that he owned 5 other units in Century Village, so he knew the rules. He went ahead and had his contractor go in without a license, without anything, and they broke the floor, and they chopped up pieces and put it in and raised it up. He also damaged the ceiling for the 2nd floor, and we went to our lawyers, and we had them, they were forced to go ahead, and then they're in the process of repairing it now. He hasn't done the floor yet, but he's not allowed to sell a unit, and we have another person who wants to buy that unit, and he's supervising the repair. You have to be tough, and that's all there is to it. A couple of other things. You should have the key to every apartment. And even though you may have a person coming in to spray for bugs and so on, we have an additional contract where they come in twice a year. We tell the new unit owner, if you won't give us the key, we're going to break that door open to get in there if we have to do something like fix a leak and so on. We provide each unit owner with a water device that you put down, water detector device that you put down on the floor next to the water heater. You get that in Home Depot, we provide that. We also once a year have our hire an electrical contractor to come in and check everybody's box to make sure that it's not overheating. We also have a contractor coming in once a year and draining all of the air conditioning lines, because all of the soot and the crap and everything that builds up because of the nature of the climate in Century Village or in South Florida causes everything to get stuck and overflow, and you have that particular problem. You should buy the tablets that are sold, drop it in the air conditioning box once a month, and change your filter once every 4 months. You also have to tell every unit owner what they can and cannot do. Now, one of the things that we have here is that if somebody has an issue, or somebody had an issue in a building, and they resolved it, they could stand up here and say, we had this issue that may be coming up in your building, and they're going to tell you how to resolve it. The key thing is to make sure that every adjustment to your bylaws is put down on paper and it's noted with your lawyer. And you tell the new person coming in, this is the rules and regulations, and you better obey it. We're going to get on your case and drive you nuts. And that's what you have to do. It's your responsibility. I don't want to talk
Good.
about somebody else.
That's it, you're good. All right, Patricia's next.
No, I'm not gonna do this to the people.
No, you won't? Okay.
No, listen, I do want to say one thing. I know that a lot of you are shy or whatever. I do, and I will tell the tenants or unit owners that I'm going, with notice, I'm going into your unit because we had a bad problem. When they were changing the sewer line, there were several units that people weren't there when I went in. It was rat infested.
Oh my God.
The feces were on the bed, it was everywhere, it was disgusting. So I called the unit owners and I told them that they have to get someone to come in and check. People have asked me in the building if I would check their units, and I said absolutely not. I don't want to be responsible for that. But the people who are not here and go away, you'd be surprised what can happen in a short period of time. We're 56 units. Other than that, I have nothing to say. If anyone has any questions, please ask, because time is ticking away. Yes,
I have a question. Are you the person in charge of the buses? I believe so.
I am.
Can I ask you a question? Are you going to have a bus going to the fair?
Yes.
What day?
Yes, I always provide a bus.
No,
On Senior Day. Yeah, Senior Day, right?
What day is that going to be?
We don't know. When they notify us, whenever.
Everything will be put into the papers and on the television. I really don't know the exact date
I know it
yet.
starts on the 17th, the Friday, January 17th, the fair starts. So when it's
Whatever the senior day is, we don't know.
I'm gonna find out and we'll put it out there.
Is that the only excursion bus you're going to have this season?
No more excursions, we're not doing
That's a
it.
whole excursion.
You know, I've been doing this for years and not one person came to my office, and when I said there's no more excursions, people got all excited and I'm like, we want you. You know, I've said numerous times at the delegate assembly, if you want to go somewhere, let me know, I'll get a bus. And it's always the same people, unfortunately, you know. But UGO's not going to do it anymore. We're going to let each club, like we do, like the Italian American Club does, we get our own bus to go somewhere. Other than that, everyone have a wonderful holiday and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne, you're next.
I won't take a whole lot of time. As a treasurer, I have two responsibilities. Produce a budget and present it at the October Delegate Assembly, which we did, and we passed, and thank you for everyone that has participated. And we do an audit. January, I will be going to the Finance Committee and requesting the audit be done. We start the process in the summer, so you know, during season, anything that your board meeting, your annual meeting brings up that you'd like to discuss, make sure your board is participating in these town halls. They're very successful, you know, to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. And that's it as far as treasurer. I do take care of the TV station, the website, and the sort of the communications, electronic communications. We do no social networking here. But please make it a habit to watch at least Channel 590 and let everybody know. On 590, I try and put the schedules, what's going on here at the clubhouse and at Hastings, any kind of notice, like when the elevator went out, I had the notice on. So just try and make a habit of watching Channel 590 as often and tell people about it. Because we've always had these channels, but people just stopped watching them because they were boring. I'm trying to change that now, so. And always call the office if you have any suggestions, call and talk to me. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. This is your time. If you have questions, now the time is to ask them. Go ahead, sir.
My board has no representation whatsoever. They don't come to anything, nothing, for years. I've been here 15 years
Okay,
as a renter. How, also, I've ran for position.
yes,
Because every year they say, we have these board positions open.
right.
Of course, when I run, I lose. How do I get involved with my board? Because I'm at everything,
Right.
but my board is at nothing.
It's, like, again, it's one of those things, we can't force somebody to come, but if you're not a unit owner,
I am.
if you're a unit owner, then you can put your name on there and get other people in the building that are unit owners and say, listen, we want to take over our building. Let's get new people in there, let's do something.
Unfortunately, they're mostly renters now, and the board members are in New York,
Well,
and it's the good old boy system.
well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I promise you that in the very near future, things are going to change. One of the things since the Surfside, if you are sitting on a board and something happens to your building or you do not take action and somebody gets hurt, you do not have insurance and you will be personally liable for any damage that's done or for loss of life. And a lot of people are they're not gonna wanna be there.
No, they don't want to be there now.
I understand
They don't want
that. So
me
the
there.
only thing you can really do is try to get some of your neighbors and vote them out. It's a tough situation, and you're not the only one here.
Really?
We have
Yes,
the same
yes,
thing in our
ma'am.
building.
Yeah, my building, a lot of the permanent people have sold, and it's 95% snowbirds, and
Yes.
they're gonna be taking over the board. So if I wanna sell my unit, I'm not gonna have a board member to bring the documents to you. What
So
do we
that
do?
they have to go, if there's no board members available, then you have to use your management company.
So you can use the
Yeah,
management?
yeah, you give it to Seacrest, okay, and say this needs to go to UCO for investigation.
Okay.
Right? No, we still have time.
But
And
they'll
you have-
charge you, right?
For the-
Huh?
They're gonna charge
Absolutely.
these people, they're gonna charge your units who
Right,
don't
but
have
it's
these
still,
boards.
it's
Right.
still up to the owners, your board, to
Right.
determine who's going to be living in that building. Occupancy is determined by your board.
And if they're never around, what happens then?
Then you're in trouble.
That's what we are.
You know, it's an unfortunate situation, it's come more and more. I'm here 24 years. 24 years ago, if 5% of the village was rentals, was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're at 50%. Okay?
50% rental?
Almost positive. If we took because it might even be more, I don't know. But it makes our life a lot harder, and if we cannot reverse it to make things happen for us, you might have to hire a management company to manage your building and pay your bills and make all the decisions for your building, which would increase the cost to every single unit owner that's there.
Right,
A minimum of $50,000 a year.
right.
And
I wanna thank you.
I assure you, if that
You're
happens,
welcome, sir.
Crap out of it.
This administration has
They'll
been the
wake
best
up.
administration.
Well, our doors, contrary to belief, UCO's doors are never closed. We're always available. I mean, we have limited hours, okay? Because we work strictly on volunteers. But if you have a question, don't be afraid to come down and ask. And like I said, we all cover for each other. Like sometimes Patricia's not there or Joanne is not there and somebody comes in, unless it's a specific question to dealing with finances, we will help you.
Well,
Okay.
you listen. That's
You know,
the biggest
well,
thing you can do.
we try to help. That's what we're here for. We've been made like the devil's advocate, you know?
Yeah.
Say, oh yeah, they're the devil. We're not the devil. Everyone in the office is a unit owner that's volunteering their time to save a couple of $1 million a year. Because if UCO were to kind of like diminish its capacity. Nobody's gonna come in and work 2 hours or 3 hours a day. You're gonna be open 8 hours a day. You're gonna have to pay insurance. You're gonna have to pay all the benefits that everybody could have. Look at Ruth, perfect example. 7 years ago, 8 years ago, there was at least a staff of what, 15? 18 people running the UCO Reporter. Okay? Guess how many people we have on staff now? One. Okay? She still gets the paper out. She's doing the same job.
I have a background, I'd love to come help you if I didn't know.
Okay?
After the first of the year.
So, like I said, I appreciate, and we're here because we want to help each other. Okay. Anybody, any other questions?
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you.
Want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays.
Keep up the good work.
We- Kwanzaa, yes. I think it's very
Well, that's what I did with the kitchen. Anyway, what's your name?
all I know is.
Hi, nice to meet you.